Yeah. It's the mafia. Yeah.
He's a monkey with cymbals in his hands instead of just catching the
and that's
this.
They're giving us like a 24-hour go feed. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a Bill City. Yeah, a Buffalo Bill City. Yeah, we got Josh Allen, got Steph.
I know they mentioned something about an ultrasound to check the nerve endings and everything.
Hopefully
else
he's not pregnant. That would
Hopefully
be a disaster. I hear that's a 9-month timeline to recover from at the minimum, is what I've heard.
Yeah, Ike McKenzie on a jet sweep. Maybe it's a fake. Honestly, it's a TD either way when you got Josh Allen making plays. Win a ball before we get a new stadium.
Someone's making a new Twitter at some point. Maybe we should do that.
Honestly, I'll just start a shared Google Doc, and that'll be our new Twitter. That'll be our new Twitter.
Just people just adding shit in.
Anonymous hedgehog is saying "fuck your mom." Like.
This is our team forever. It is forever.
Damn, look at that. You made it. That was perfect timing. Holy shit. And I remembered the graphic. This is a great show already.
We made it. Yeah, we made it.
Welcome into the Crowd Assist podcast, everybody. Presented by Trainwreck Sports. Wake here. The bright lights in front of me are not strobe lights. It's the Amazon Prime of Raiders-Rams, which is surprisingly an exciting game right now. I was fighting the good fight for Baker Mayfield in one of my group chats this week. I can't lie to you. And I'm really happy.
That's a bold move.
My good fight for Baker Mayfield is that he is just as good or bad as Jimmy Garoppolo.
I mean, I think that's a possibility still. Yeah. Let's think about the situations Baker Mayfield has been put in his career so far. Mm-hmm. If you want to talk about messing up a first overall quarterback, the situation that Baker was in is the worst thing. He had Freddie Kitchens in his head. Guys, do you remember Freddie Kitchens? Mm-hmm. Do you remember Freddie Kitchens? I remember. I lived in Northeast Ohio during Freddie Kitchens.
Ooh.
It was great and also horrible. Did I ever tell you one of my favorite stories from college is Thursday night going to one of our favorite places, and it was as I walk upstairs into this bar, I see a scuffle breaking out between the Browns and the Steelers.
A scuffle and then a scuffle.
A kerfuffle, all of it. And then I see Myles Garrett take his helmet and start swinging it around. And I was like so happy where you're just looking around and literally see Kent, Ohio is basically all Browns and Steelers because it's people from Pittsburgh, it's people from Cleveland mostly.
Yeah.
And all I saw was just brown and black and gold all around. I was like, yo, what is going to happen? Like there's violence happening. A quarterback just got assaulted. Yeah. What is going to happen in here? Luckily, it was pretty tame.
I did name my guillotine league that I run the Myles Garrett Invitational after that instance. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
It's a great story.
Also, thank you to Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case. Great location in George Urban Boulevard in Depew, right around the corner, really, from Studio D. And they got new Wi-Fi in Studio D, so we might be doing live shows from there soon. And if we do, we'll be stocked up at Outlet Liquor. I'm going to be going to the game this
all
week.
The time.
And for that, I'm also going to be stocking up at Outlet Liquor. Gonna get some Fireball, gonna get a little Gatorade cooler somewhere else, gonna make some hot chocolate with some Fireball in it. It's gonna be
that's a good idea.
Yeah, right. It's a terrible idea as well. But what is not a terrible idea is Fact or Fiction. We're gonna do some Fact or Fiction to kick off this show. Bill's Jets edition of it for the second time this year. And we were supposed to have Greg Tomset on the show from Cover One, the Bills Mafia's resident capologist, but he is currently dying, for lack of a better way of putting it. Might have pneumonia. So thoughts out to Greg.
Feel better, Greg. Yeah.
Feel better. And hopefully you can join us next week. He's apologizing for being sick. And I'm like, brother, feel better. feel better, please. But I need you to feel better, too, because you've only gotten Fact or Fiction right once this year.
I thought I had this in the bag. Week one, it was hot, and here we are.
Yep. You were like the Sabres from last year. It was it's
not this year, though.
No,
I guess kind of this year.
So Fact or Fiction stat number one, you have 3 real stats, 1 fake one. It's Jake Micah's job, and you're the listener to figure out what the fake stat is. Stat number 1 is that Zonovan Knight's week 13 rushing total of 90 yards tops Zach Moss's best career game.
All right.
Initial thoughts.
I don't think Zach Moss ran for 90 yards in the game, bro. So
okay,
that's all. I'm not going to slander the man. That's all I'm saying.
Fair. Stat number 2, the Buffalo Bills and the New York Jets are both top 10 in forced turnovers.
Okay, I think that's true too. Yeah. So we're starting off 2 facts, which this is how I get caught up though. I need to just take it all in, keep it going.
Stat number 3, the 2022 Buffalo Bills and the Mike White led Jets are top
I think
10
so.
in first downs per game. You think so?
I think Mike White's been efficient. Even though I can't believe they threw it 50. We'll get to it.
Yeah. Stat number 4, according to Jake Micah, this is the fake one based on his thoughts so far. So we'll see if he still agrees. Dawson Knox has more targets than Elijah Moore in 2022.
Yeah, I'm still going to say that's fiction.
You're going to say that Dawson Knox has less targets than Elijah Moore?
No, there's no way. Do you have the full screen? Is there a full
screen?
Oh,
of course. Yeah, nope, that's my bad. I knew I would mess up a graphic eventually, so thank you for
There we go. This is beautiful. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, of course, my pleasure. So Zonovan Knight's week 13 rushing total, 90 yards, top Zach Moss's best career game. Bills and New York Jets both being top 10 in forced turnovers. 2022 Buffalo Bills and the Mike White led Jets being top 10 in first downs per game. Dawson Knox having more targets than Elijah Moore this year. Jake Micah, we'll go one by one, eliminate one that you know is true.
That's a dangerous game with this. I'm gonna say that I'm between the first and fourth one being fiction right now.
Okay.
I think the middle 2 are true.
Okay.
And maybe I'm wrong there. All right. I'm giving Zach Moss his respect. That's what I'm gonna do. I'll go out. If I have to go out somehow, I'll go out giving the man his respect. So I'm saying that is fiction, and Dawson Knox does have more targets than Elijah Moore.
Well, I hate to tell you, you were not even close.
Oh.
The actual fake statistic is... I have to change the graphic. The Bills and Jets are both top 10 in turnovers. That's fiction. This is fiction. The Jets are outside the top 10. It's close. However, they are still outside the top 10 with 15 forced turnovers, but that's still a good, respectable defense. Zach Moss, he did have a few games in the 80s. So Zonovan Knight, I guess his name is Bam Knight, I discovered. So we have Boogie and Bam going up against each other on the offensive-defensive matchup there. The Mike White-led Jets are averaging 22.5 first downs per game. That would put them season-long top 5.
That's crazy. But that's what he is throwing for efficiency and hitting. It's a lot of quick stuff. He gets the ball out quick, but they have played like Garrett Wilson and Elijah Moore and Corey Davis can all get open quick. Like they have no issue with that at all. And so it's not that a surprise. I can't believe that this is fiction though. I really thought the Jets were like being menaces right now. But just shows that the Bills defense too, people like have been wanting to criticize them on and off all year and still being in the top 10 in forced turnovers with all the injuries they have. Yep. I was expecting if this one was fiction that the Bills were going to be on the outside, not the Jets. So
sure, yeah.
Do you see this chaos going on behind me? Like,
no. I have a sleepy kitty over there. She was laying on my chest about 15 minutes before here. So yeah.
There was no need to do any of that. He just knocked it off. Whatever.
I also have a mini pool table that I'm pretty sure I would have to play 9-ball pool at this point because she's been knocking the balls around everywhere.
But where else can you get this but the Crowd is His podcast?
Exactly.
Look at this guy. How could you not like that?
But Dawson Knox only has one more target than Elijah Moore this year. Still more.
Wow.
One of those.
See, I did think the Elijah. I was thinking like the Moore thing might be a little overblown from the comments and everything. And Mike White targets him. Mike White and Joe Flacco targeted him quite a bit too. And Knox has been just so up and down.
Yeah, it's 43-42 in favor of Dawson Knox. And obviously the Bills offense has looked better as of late. But that is something that I think everybody would be pretty excited about is getting Dawson Knox, our newly paid tight end, a little bit more involved. That's one.
That would be nice. Yeah.
Ken Dorsey's done a lot better with the run game as of late, but than Brian Dable did, I'm going to say. But Dawson Knox seems to be a missing link right now. Another missing link, possibly OBJ. If he does sign in Buffalo, we'll be putting out an OBJ's Wholesale Touchdown Club t-shirt. I just thought of that like 20 minutes ago, so I'm going to hold myself to that. This is accountability. But now Jamison Crowder's getting healthy. We have John Brown in here. Do you still think with all of them coming back, and I know the answer is yes, that OBJ to the Bills is still somewhat of a necessity for this team?
Yeah, I mean, even if he can give something in the playoffs at this rate, and that was the rumor, was that OBJ had told Micah Parsons he'd be ready in 5 weeks or something like that. That was some of the reporting. I think that's perfect and makes a lot of sense for them to do. I think at this rate, to me, it kind of seems like OBJ is going to be signing with someone for more than just this year, though. Like either of these teams, it sounds like the Bills are not just trying to bring him in and court him for 5 weeks to have him for 5 weeks and get rid of him at this point. At least for next year, I would think that this move is going to be. I think we're finding out tomorrow. I think that he's been waiting. Friday news dump. It's perfect.
Yeah,
you get the whole weekend. You start your whole weekend cycle after Thursday Night Football, and all the news will be about that. It'll be the biggest thing going into the weekend. Maybe he's in wherever, Buffalo or Dallas, on Sunday on the sideline with the team, something like that. Like both those teams would not want to pass up on that kind of opportunity. And I just feel like he said it was going to be resolved pretty quickly afterwards. It's been throughout the week. It could be tomorrow, but I think it's 50-50. I really do. I wouldn't be surprised either way at this point, but I still think the Bills are very much in it and very much willing to be invested in OBJ by the way that everybody's talked about it since, especially Allen and Vaughn, who they sent out, especially that's also the part of it too is.
Yeah, Josh Allen said yesterday that he feels pretty confident about it. Von Miller is still they wouldn't be hyping up us over it if Jerry Jones straight up came out and said, yeah, it's probably not happening for us. They don't have to say these things.
And let's take a quick aside here and talk about Vaughn quick, because obviously the biggest, we don't need to dwell on it that much, and we'll talk about it later when we're breaking down the game, what this impact will be. Obviously, very disappointing news to find out, and I'm sure it was disappointing. He said today, and that's how I'm going to bring this back around, because the Pat McAfee show today was literally just Bill Central giving us all the information we needed to get on what's going on, morale of the team, all that stuff. But Vaughn effectively said he didn't know if he was going to get his ACL repaired when he went into surgery or not. He knew that it was a possibility that he could have to have it repaired, but he kind of just went in not knowing, and they were just they found the damage. And he said, I thought it was it was so interesting the way he said it, because he's I felt pain in both my knees, because he already had, the way they do the surgery is they take part of your patella tendon apparently, and he had already gotten his other knee fixed on ACL, so they had to go to both his knees. So that's the only way he knew he would know, is if one knee was surgically repaired, that he didn't have to fix the ACL, and he woke up and both knees were sore. He's oh, they took it. It's just such a crazy whirlwind of time that you would have to go through that. But the thing is, when he got hurt on Thanksgiving, I had kind of, at least my mind had already compartmentalized that he's probably not coming back for the season. And even if it was just his meniscus and he came back in 5 weeks, they were going to be very careful with him. He was going to be on an extreme pitch count throughout the playoffs. Maybe the Super Bowl was the game they let him go out or whatever, if they make it that far and all that. But he's here for 5 more years after this. Clearly committed. He's talking about today he's going to be shadowing Bean. He's always talked about wanting to be a GM and this stuff, but also just him being around and being a resource for everybody in the locker room, and just the energy that he clearly brings to there. It's great things. I'm happy that Vaughn has such a good perspective on it. It sucks that he's not going to be on the football field. I just enjoyed watching him so much and enjoyed seeing him part of the team. Obviously it sucks when anybody's hurt, and I think that that's what everybody was just yesterday being man, naturally, how crazy is it Thanksgiving both years?
Yeah,
these two guys get hurt
my
and everything.
favorite holiday too. And I don't know how much longer that's.
I've always wanted the Bills to play on Thanksgiving. It's like a curse. It's literally like it's the monkey paw. Like I wished for Bills Thanksgiving games, and now this is what you get.
At what cost?
But I think that if I'm talking like there's two, Von talked about universal coincidences here. Mm-hmm. And I think there's two of them that are actually coming for the Bills in this instance, but I'll get to his second because it brings us back to the OBJ thing. Okay. The first thing is that we've talked about Von's impact the whole season being just as much off the field as it is on the field, right? And that value is going to be there. I mean, times 10, maybe even this point. Like he does, like he was saying even today, I have all the time in the world. I can do whatever. Like I'm going to be around. Von's probably going to be streaming for like 7 hours a day, like Ninja or some shit. Like he's going to be, rehab is a long, strenuous process and you have a lot of downtime, but he can be there and still be that support for this team. But also, if Micah Hyde somehow is, and not even if he doesn't, but if Micah Hyde some way able to come back, this is basically the defense that it's been for the last 3 years, 4 years that did not get the job done. Mm-hmm. And wouldn't it just be like how great it would be to do it with Von and him just be healthy for this run? Mm-hmm. But how sweet would it be if it's basically the defense that gets to redeem themselves and Von is like the coach, motivational figure, whatever else. Like that feels like as good of a story. Like I think it was our boy Sports Rock Ryan Sullivan the other day earlier who was like the Bills Super Bowl documentary DVD is going to be incredible. And this is going to be a great chapter in this. Yeah. And I could just see all that coming through. So I just feel like there's something to that. And Von Miller saw Odell Beckham after his surgery in Dallas in the Cowboys facility. Yeah. They were there. How are you there at this? And Von said myself, it's like we were supposed to be in the same place. And that's all I could really say. Like, that's such a weird little coincidence. If Von doesn't get hurt a couple weeks ago and then go to this surgery at the exact time that Odell is doing his visits, like, it's such a weird confluence of events that happening. I don't know. It just, there's a lot of things trending towards it for me, I feel like. And Von is still going to have an impact on this team regardless. Get well soon, Von. That was my long soliloquy, bringing it back around.
No, I loved it. I loved every second of it. I'm not shocked that Jerry Jones is doing this whole sour grapes, we don't want Odell anymore thing. I'm guessing because I didn't think that OBJ would want to really go there anyways. Not saying he wouldn't want to play for the Dallas Cowboys. I just don't think he wants to play for a team that has two running backs with more rushing attempts than their highest targeted receiver has targets. That's my thing. Like, why would OBJ go there? Like,
the biggest thing that it comes down to me with is for Odell, he's about to be over 30. Who do you want? Dak is a great quarterback. Why would you not want to play with Josh Allen? He's never had a chance to play with a guy like Josh Allen, like one of just the unequivocally best quarterbacks in the league. Why not give yourself? He cares about legacy. He cares about all that. Why would you not give yourself that opportunity?
Yeah, no, and if you're going to the Giants, who seem to be the only other front runner, unless Pro Football Talk or whoever the hell tweeted it out that watch out for the Eagles. Like, if you went to the Eagles, fuck that. No one would enjoy that. Literally, nobody wants that to happen.
I don't see that.
Like, if he went to the Giants, what's the sell? We're drafting a quarterback in the next couple of years. You'll get to help someone grow. Like, I'm sorry, that's not what OBJ's out for right now. He's chasing back-to-back rings right now. He's joining a football team in December, maybe on December 9th, as you have predicted. I think that it's so many people that I know have come around on the idea to it. I think that if it doesn't happen, people are going to be irrationally mad at Von Miller, at Brandon Beane. And I mean, like, there's so many things going on in the background that have to make it a right fit. Like, maybe there is more going on with the knee than people do really everybody other than Jerry Jones, is letting on. I don't know. I'm still a big fan of it. I think it's like the best possible thing to add. He's the best player that you could add in December, probably in any NFL season ever.
This is crazy. The fact that we're in this position with anybody. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I don't know that we would necessarily need him for this weekend against the Jets, but we said basically more or less the same sentiment back in November, and we could have really used him against the Jets. So let's get into this game because, it's definitely oddly, it's just confusing that, it's so hard for a team to beat a team like the Bills once in a season, let alone twice. And we are about to see a better version both of the Jets and the Bills than we saw a month ago. I think that's fair to say, right? Like, they got healthier on the offensive line. They're still fine running the football. They have a better quarterback, at least one who, and Zach Wilson, to his credit, in the last game, he made the plays that Mike White is making now. He didn't make mistakes. And we went into that game saying he's going to make mistakes. And if he does, we'll win this game. Mike White, he's not making mistakes, but last year he came in, lit it up against the Bengals. Then the next week or 2 weeks later, threw 4 picks against the Bills. So, it's such a hard game to gauge. I won't be betting on it. I'm telling you that right now. I will not bet my hard-earned money on this game because it could go so many different ways. But the one thing that has me optimistic is that we bottled up Nick Chubb. We held DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams in check. We held Ramondre Stevenson in check. They are way better than Bam Knight and Ty Johnson and whatever cast of characters we're going to see behind the Jets offensive line.
I will be betting on Stephon Diggs touchdowns because that has been my favorite bet all year long. Yeah. That's automatic. But I'm with you. I think Zach Wilson, he looked like exactly what they needed him to be in that game. And the Bills did not make life as uncomfortable as it should have been. And it was also a lot of Garrett Wilson dominating both Elam and Benford and Jackson, or all 3 of them. I said both. All 3 of them he had matched up against at some point and took advantage of them, especially in key situations. So that is the biggest change to me, is that Tre'Davious White played 61% of the snaps last week. He's had 10 days to rest. It's going to be full-on Tre'Davious White on Sunday. It's going to be basically the cornerback room that they were hoping for going into the year.
Exactly.
They didn't expect Benford to turn into what he turned into, and he's not going to be on the field. So this is what the plan was in the offseason. It was going to be Elam and White and Dane Jackson, probably not Xavier Rhodes, but I think he'll probably still get a role in there. And we're going to see Tre'Davious White on the field 80-something% of the time and see what kind of impact he can really have on this game. I think the biggest storyline for me also on the Bills side is Milano, because any game that he misses has been an issue this year. And luckily, like you're saying,
for a linebacker to win Defensive Player of the Year, so impossible, and he won't get it. He won't. But man, he
should be an All-Pro. He really should.
If he's not an All-Pro, it's NFL rigged. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, it really. He is. His impact on that team is so unique, and he just does so much, and he's starting to get respect. Smart football people give him the respect at least, but casual people don't know who he is enough, and he's a monster. So if he didn't practice again today, if he doesn't practice tomorrow, he's not playing Sunday. It looks to me like he's trending to be out from the way that they kind of keep these guys out and everything. And I'd rather have him for the Miami game than this game, to be honest. But it's just, he's going to be a huge loss no matter what. But as long as Jordan Poyer's in, hey.
It literally almost doesn't even matter. Jordan Poyer, him and DeMar Hamlin are exact. Oh my God, Derek Carr just
I don't know what he dude.
Silliest interception I've ever. Oh my!
Why did he even throw that ball?
He tried to Dirk fade that. What the hell?
He was getting run into it. He's like,
oh my God! I teased the total down to 37.5, and I was feeling good about it right until that point. He throws the dumbest interceptions sometimes. He's the most sackable quarterback I've ever seen. He curls up in the fetal position anytime someone sniffs him, and he throws the silliest Jimmy G Carson Wentz interceptions.
My thing with Derek Carr is if he was a quarterback in 1997 or 96, he'd be a god.
Oh my God!
If Derek Carr was a 90s quarterback, he would have been a Pro Bowler.
Him on Troy Aikman's Cowboys.
Yeah, he's great,
and they might win more Super Bowls.
Yeah, but then when you have all these freak athletes and super accurate quarterback, everything, he doesn't have anything remarkable about him these days.
Nothing at all. He's a very unremarkable human being, to be honest. But he's in the NFL. What the fuck?
But what about I think that the Bills offense, you mentioned earlier something about the run game and giving credit to Dorsey and deserves credit. I think credit goes to the fact that James Cook just might be a monster, and he just might be turning into what we thought he was going to be. They're giving him last week. He was the lead back. It was one more snap. It was 33-32, but he was the lead back of last week over Singletary. That has not happened. When's the last time anybody was in taking snaps over Singletary? Like TJ Yeldon once last year, I think, in one of those games when they were really searching for answers.
Maybe a Matt Breida game that they tried out. I don't know.
Breida too, stuff like that. It's been a long time. Singletary's got mostly, even the games that they're splitting up, he's getting most of the carries. This is a clear shift, and he made every use of it. He had 130 yards from scrimmage. If your running back on this team can get 130 yards from scrimmage, this is a terrifying fucking team. If Josh Allen can be a game manager, you're screwed. Like, you are screwed. And Dorsey that's like the elements of, he's brought a lot of Shanahan elements to this offense when it comes to the run game and stuff like that. And that's one of those things is you make everything easy on the quarterback that Rodgers in their offense the last couple of years, it's been automatic for them because they just have such easy things that you can do, but you have a freak of nature who, if something actually breaks down, can make things happen. And it just looked like it was so easy for Josh to operate last week. Like everything looked effortless.
James Cook reminds me a lot more of Aaron Jones than he does his brother.
That's a great comparison because that is exactly it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, when you go, I remember, like, honestly, my entire life, when I'm watching football and I'm thinking of teams that I'm, like, genuinely afraid of, I'm thinking of teams that when you take every option away downfield, have one of those dynamic running backs who can convert a 3rd and 15 almost effortlessly. And James Cook is kind of one of those guys. Like, we play against the Patriots, and, our secondary would hold up, but, oh, my God, they have James White. Oh, great. Tom Brady has no problem checking it down to that guy. And I think Josh Allen having a guy like James Cook makes it easier for him to play game manager or captain check down, because it's not a splash play guaranteed. But with a guy like James Cook, it becomes just the potential for it is a flash play, is just oh my God, what did this guy just do kind of play. For someone who wants to put the game on his shoulders, I don't think he has a problem just dumping it off to someone who has the same ability as him.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm going to shout out Cover One here because I watched the film room segment. It's one of my favorite things. So
shout out Greg, shout out Aaron. Yeah,
and one of the things that they showed this week was on one of those passes right up the middle is that, first of all, how much space there was jarring to see from the angle behind the quarterback. Like the fact how much attention the receivers and just the pressure that Allen's arm puts on that defense to leave the middle of the field open. And they really haven't had a guy who can take advantage of that this year. That was always Beasley. That's where he's lived. And you would think Knox fits in there, but they haven't really used him that way. And the receivers, I mean, Diggs obviously can do whatever, but they want him on the outside to make big plays. There was so much space there. And when Allen dropped back on one of these passes, it was the first read was like, get it to Cook and put him in that space. And when you see it on that screen, you see what Dorsey's thinking. He's like, there's a gaping hole in the middle. There's 30 yards in the middle of the field. If we give this guy the ball at 5 yards on a quick out, like he's going to get 13 yards before he even gets touched. And if you're getting that every time you throw the ball, that's what more could you ask for? Like that's literally all you want. And even like the little dump offs with a guy like that go on first down for say they're dropping back, and he dumps it off to him for like 6 yards, he gets tackled right away. If you run the ball on first down and get 6 yards, you're taking that every single day. Like that, your offense is ahead of schedule. You can have everything open to you on 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3. That's what Cook opens up just with that dynamics that he can do.
Exactly. And the smart teams are passing on first down. They are, and they're getting ahead of the sticks. They're picking up chunk yardage on that. And with these receivers that we have, it's very, very hard to pay attention to someone like James Cook, as you said. Like passing on first down it's not a guaranteed 7-yard play, because like of course he could put it downfield and it could be incomplete, but like the odds of the Bills putting themselves in a short yardage situation on second down are incredible. And I think to talking about back to Dawson Knox, because he's a popular guy on this show right now, I guess. Good boy. One of my favorite things that I've learned listening to the smart fantasy football people is that running back and tight end targets are completely correlated. And having a guy like James Cook demand targets, people are going to have to start paying attention to him. Linebackers are going to have to start coming up. Defensive ends might have to peel off and, do all those fancy ass things to stay on someone like James Cook. That's only going to make life easier for someone like Dawson Knox. They don't have to worry about a running back for so long. Like Devin Singletary, it hasn't been a receiving threat out of the backfield.
Yeah.
Moss never was. Matt Breida could have been, but wasn't. Nyheim Hines isn't being used that way for a reason I kind of really don't understand.
I think it's still coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I want to bet Nyheim Hines anytime touchdown every single week until it happens, because there's got to be crazy value on that right now. But James Cook is just going to make life so much easier for Dawson Knox, and having him on this team on his rookie deal, more or less for the entire length of the extension Knox signed this offseason, that is going to make that contract worth it. And you don't necessarily want, I know like a WGR guy would call in right now and be like, "Hey, Dale and Eden, thanks for taking my call. I don't really know if we want Dawson Knox's reliability to be based on James Cook." Well, you got to have good players to make good players better. Sorry, Dale, you fucking moron.
Dale would be fired up. He would be not be happy about that either.
Yeah, I would have gotten the thumb button there. So, but
you don't know what
StreamYard and not WGR.
You want to know what's really jarring to me, and why I kind of have, in my mind at least, given the pass to Dorsey and giving him his credit like this week. I feel like after the last couple weeks, and he's been getting flowers, and I think he deserves it. First of all, Allen, besides the 11 turnovers, which are more on Allen than him, he's currently on pace for about 4,800 yards this year and like 38 touchdowns or something. I mean, that's elite production. Like he's been awesome. And if you look at their receiving stats right now, Diggs right now leading the league in targets, receptions, yards. He's 128 targets, 91 receptions, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. Of course, Stefon Diggs is in the prime of his career.
Wide receiver fantasy right now.
Wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Why do you look at the rest of the roster? Why would you want anybody else? Like Josh should always. This is what we wanted. Like throw the ball to Diggs. Always throw the ball to Diggs. So that's happening. I changed
my Twitter name to "Please Target Stefon Diggs." I literally did that for about 3 weeks.
I remember that. But listen to this. Right here, the next 4 guys, how many receptions they have? 35, 35, 33, 31. And Cook is the guy below that with 15. That is incredible balance for this offense in all sorts. And all those guys have made plays in all sorts of situations that they are expected to make plays in. The drops are a big thing with Davis. He's been targeted the second most, 67 times. Yeah. So obviously that's an issue. We know that. But McKenzie, 50 targets, Knox and Singletary, 43, 42. Like everything it's all pretty even across the board. Like isn't that what you always ask for with an offense, is like that kind of, especially a passing offense, like that kind of balance. Your number one is producing like one of the best receivers in the league, like he is. And then everybody else is literally falling in line exactly where they're supposed to on an elite offense.
And even with Gabe's inconsistencies, he's still a top 30 receiver, I believe, this year, right? If I'm not mistaken. Like if he put it together for an entire season, we would have, and I hate to keep bringing up fantasy because fantasy does not indicate.
It's a good metric though.
It's a good metric for just on-field production. That's literally what fantasy football is. If he was just mildly consistent, he would be a top 10 fantasy receiver as well. And not a lot of teams, like we thought maybe Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle would be doing something like that. Jalen Waddle's been inconsistent as well. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, maybe not even close. It's Gabe. I hate keep going back to Gabe Davis, but like this offense really kind of.
Here's the thing about Gabe though, is that it is everything that's happening with him this year so far is all mental. Like he's getting open. He's putting himself in positions to make plays. So I truly believe whether it's the end of this season, whether it's in the playoffs, or maybe this year is just a slump year for him and this is like a wake-up call he needed, he's going to turn into that wide receiver too at some point. The physical ability is there, the work ethic, and he puts himself in the position to make the plays. There's just been a mental block this year, I think, with him, and it's a lot of hype. He got like, no one wanted to talk about it. No one brought it up in the offseason. Like, oh, are we hyping up Gabe Davis too big when we're talking about him? Like, he was getting crazy talk and he deserved it. It was a historic performance. But like people, it was always like, all right, this guy has not done this yet though. So let's relax. And I'm sure that got to a young guy at some point. I would be upset if it didn't. Like those, like, it's hard to deal with that. And ASAP Rocky performing tonight, I'm just watching Amazon Music too. And that's another thing too, is like Jay-Z was looking out for Gabe Davis. He wasn't even trying to see Josh Allen. He was trying to hang out with Gabe Davis. That tells you the profile that he's been in. That's a huge adjustment for a 24-year-old receiver in a big spot with a lot of pressure on him. I think he's going to turn it around. And I think that's what I've come to terms with, like, through all the frustrations during the years. Like, that's asking a lot of that guy. It really is.
And we're going to kind of be asking a lot of him this weekend because Stephon Diggs, as we know, he's had a phenomenal year, but his worst game of the season objectively did come against the Jets. 10 targets, 5 catches, 93 yards, and 0 touchdowns.
How crazy that 5 catches and 93 yards.
5 to 93 is a bad game for Stephon Diggs. That's the world that we're living in. If we're going to put we are a big perspective and context podcast, and that is your perspective and context for this podcast. Sauce Gardner, he did a respectable job on Stephon Diggs. Can we say respectable? Is that how you could describe it?
I'm not a Sauce hater, so I think he was fine.
Yeah.
I think that Sauce is a guy that is going to be physical until you tell him not to be, and that's how corners, in my opinion, should play, because cornerback is so fucking hard that you should,
but a little better.
Exactly. Playing cornerback is so fucking hard that you should try to take advantage of every rule and everything that you can take advantage of. That's how I feel about playing that position. So I respect Sauce. I think he's been awesome this year.
No, cornerback might be like one of the hardest positions to play in sports, honestly. Like, especially with just the year-to-year changes. And
what other sport that your job, you have to just, I guess playing hockey as a defenseman, but you skate forward a lot more. Like that majority of your time is moving backwards. That in itself is an insane thing to think about. Like a backstroke in swimming. Like those are like the only 3 things in sport that you do where you literally are moving backwards instead of forward. Like I just have so much respect for everything they have to figure out. And then in the league, this fucking league that does nothing to help them out.
No.
Like Cam Jordan even said it, which I forgot that LeBron has a shop version of Thursday Night Football now, which is just insane. Like 13-year-old me would just be like, what is happening? But Cam Jordan even made like an off-color joke. He's like, it's funny, they can call all these defensive holdings and everything, but they don't call no push-offs and everything. And as I'm looking at this Adams catch, it kind of looks like he pushed off. And those are things that corners have to deal with. Like you would rarely ever get that call offensively.
But also, like, fans don't want to see that. Fans don't want to see taken back, too. So there's that kind of bias. Like, there's a reason, like, refs kind of give home field advantage inadvertently. It's because they don't want people to boo them. Like, that's just human nature.
It's natural. It's human nature,
Yeah.
It used to be more when we didn't know about concussions and cornerbacks and safeties could just light up wide receivers. That was fun for fans. They were like, oh, shit, this is crazy. Yeah, you can't do that anymore.
No, not at all. I think the biggest part of this game that we haven't really talked about too much, so I think this will be the last thing before we get out, and it's a very sexy thing, obviously, to end the show with. We saved it for the end. The offensive line. Oh, yeah. Big boys up front.
Waiting on Dion.
Questenberry, the Amazon Prime broadcast was very, very admirable of him, admiring, respecting him. And I will respect the effort. He was hurt for a lot of that game, clearly. However, if I never see him take another snap, I will be so happy. And I know that's not going to happen, but like, let a kid dream. Oh my God, where did my co-host go? Jake?
I have I have a cat that was looking at something glass up there, and I did not trust that man at all.
I was gonna say
I had to do it.
I thought it was gonna be the cats doing something.
It was sometimes you just gotta go boss up, be like, listen,
yeah,
what are we doing here?
You are not that guy.
That's what happens when you're alive. Sometimes you just falls out and does what he wants to do.
Yeah, his world. We're just living in it.
Exactly. Continue on what you're saying.
Oh no, just that I this offensive line is terrifying me right now. Mitch Morse is having a down year. I mean, Ryan Bates he's turning out everything I thought he was, and that's a guy. He's just a guy.
I'm kind of encouraged. I mean, one of the things is we're going to see is if Ike Bacher gets brought back, what kind of role they put him in. He could be a huge piece going forward. Like, wasn't even thinking about that, but he's coming off a tough injury too, so I'm sure he's going to need some ramp up time. But like, he might be huge for depth purposes. Quisenberry, it was admirable to see him tough through it, but there was I'm sitting there watching. I was watching this game with my girlfriend actually, so she's a very casual football watcher, obviously, and I was like, listen. If the guy that is supposed to be protecting the quarterback just falls over on his own, you usually know you're in for a bad night.
Yeah. and of course, he's obviously questionable with his ankle injury as well. Good to see Saffold and Morris get full practices, but still going up against a guy like Quinnen Williams, who, is probably the Jets team MVP up until this point. That's a very, very tall. I've never been scared of a man with braces before. And Williams is that man.
That's amazing. Yeah, he is a terrifying. That's the biggest thing I think in this game. We can get into predictions here quick. I think that the one thing I didn't touch on that I wanted to about the Jets is their defensive front is like one of the best in the league. They get pressured. They're going to make life miserable for Josh. Yeah. Luckily, he's one of the best quarterbacks. I think he's the only positive EPA quarterback under pressure right now. Saw that stat.
Today.
Yeah. He's getting as healthy probably as he has been since the beginning of the year. He got 10 days rest and with practice in full, even leading up to the Patriots game. So that's going to be good to see. I think that the Bills, despite whatever the limitations that they had against the Jets, they're going to figure it out. The home crowd's going to be a huge difference. Mike White playing on the road he had a great game last week, I would say, for the circumstances, but it was 31 to like 57, man. Like, that's a lot of volume for Mike White. I don't think that's a winning formula coming into Buffalo. I think it's around like the Bills are going to push the pace and try to score early and keep it. I think it's going to be similar to last week. So I'm going 31-14 Bills. That's what I think I'm going to go with.
Yeah, my prediction was going to be pretty much the same. I was going to go 28-17. I have a little more respect for Mike White and the receivers that they have there. And honestly,
I'm terrified of Garrett Wilson. That's what I should say.
Yeah, no, he is. I've been hearing a lot of people say he's kind of like Stephon Diggs, where he doesn't do one thing other than route running really that incredible. But his route running is just unbelievable, where he's able to create so much space for himself. Yeah, he's going to be giving us headaches for a very long time. I'm sure there will be more games in the future that we lose not to the Jets, but to Garrett Wilson.
Yes.
But I don't think that's going to be I don't think that's going to be this week. Will not be one of those games.
The Bills are not getting swept by the Jets or I don't think anybody for that matter, and that may be my prediction for next week, giving it away. I just don't think this team will allow that to happen. They will these games.
To live in a reality where we lose 2 games in one season to the New York Jets.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening. I just
within the next 6 years.
That stadium is going to be awesome on Sunday. I'm so excited to see what the atmosphere is. These are the biggest.
Joining you live from the lots.
Oh, let's go! That's amazing. This is going to be such a fun last month of the season home game wise, because it's, first of all, we're not used to meaningful home games that much anyways in the recent years, at least late in the season. Even games that we've had, there's a lot of games like last year, last game of the season was basically a wash. 2 years ago it was, whatever. These 3 games
last year was, and no one wants to remember that game.
Exactly. These 3 games all are going to be incredibly important, all division games, all at home in the last month of the season. It's going to be awesome playoff type atmospheres.
Exactly what they were doing this year, having us have 3 divisional home games and then going to Cincinnati. all in the last month or so of the season, honestly, like hats fucking off. Like they did their damn job. They did their job.
And I think it's going to be a lot of Bills contingent in Chicago. That I know there's a lot of Buffalo people here. I think that's going to be a solid amount of Bills fans we see there. I wish I could be there. It's Christmas Eve. So fucking stupid.
So dumb.
But what are we going to do?
I mean, it's the same thing as, and I'm happy I wasn't there, but it's the same thing as me moving away from Long Island. And then my birthday game this year was the Jet game. So
Nice.
yeah.
Naturally.
Classic. So you have 31-14. I have 28-17. We want to know what everybody else has. Let us know the score predictions. Tweet us at Crowdus'Pod, at Wake Jotkins, at the Jake Micah. The Jake underscore Micah?
Nope. Just no underscore.
I will get it one of these days.
I try. I've tried to avoid underscores my whole life. That's my goal.
Yeah. That's a very good goal to have. I'm proud of you.
Go report. That's my only plug. I don't got anything else to plug. Just go report at Jake Micah on Twitter. Get him off of here so I can take my rightful place
as the Jake Micah.
Well, I am the Jake Micah. I feel like
at Jake Micah.
The at Jake Micah. I feel like having the is like, like no one wants to be the anything, like the Ohio State, all that stuff. But it's like, what other option do I have right now?
Yeah.
This guy has my name on, that's holding it hostage. I just want my name.
He literally put you in a box in this, and you have, there's not even holes for you to breathe. Like, and
so
I'm sorry.
I hope the people understand.
Yes, the people will.
But I understand if you look at me a certain type of way where it says the, I get it.
Yeah.
Think of it like the SpongeBob the. That's what it really is.
It's not the. It's the.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what it is, in my mind at least.
Well, Outlet Liquor is the place to buy a case. Great segue. Shout out Outlet Liquor. Make sure you guys stock up for your tailgates, for your watch parties this weekend, whatever you got going on. Holy shit, I did it. Stock up for the rest of this Raiders-Rams game because Baker Mayfield, it looks like he's back to being Baker Mayfield. So
who would have thought?
I'm going to need to drink myself. Everybody, enjoy your Thursday nights. We'll see you for pregame on Sunday. But until then, good night now. And, of course,
go Bills.
Go Bills. Oh, I didn't hit end broadcast. Go Bills.